Well, anyway, so this is essentially the seventh edition of our Virtual Artist Salon. We started this year as a antidote to the fact that people were shut in. People aren't quite as shut in now, obviously, as they were for all this period of time. But it's something we, I guess, still feel is worth doing. Is kind of continuing to reach out to people in ways that we're not able to with the community center very much at all, because we're kind of partially open at the community center. Certainly our social services like the food bank and all that are still roaring along, but the kind of events we're accustomed to doing on a very regular basis, we haven't had a chance to do. In fact, this particular art show that is up, the Jackie Kirk Memorial Exhibit, really emerged out of the fact that we were hosting the memorial, and very honored to do so here at the community center, which we did. And we put up some art and said, well, hey, let's make this an art show. So we've had kind of a mitigated version of our usual art program, where we've had very specific hours where you could come and view the art, and realize also a lot of people haven't had a chance to see that, even with those limited hours. And of course, we're hoping in the future to have more art shows, and eventually we'll be running full steam. We don't know when, nobody knows. But again, we've been very honored to participate in this with the Jackie Kirk family. I personally knew Jackie Kirk, and she was an artist that I very much admired. And so to me, this was a perfect fit. A lot of people knew Jackie Kirk in the Valley. She had lived in the Valley many years ago, not in the latter part of her life, and was part of a circle of artists that included the likes of Connie Smith Siegel and Kay Carlson that I mentioned, Art Holman, this whole group that used to produce art shows together and have their own in-person salons, So again, this all seemed like a perfect fit for the community center. And I've been very pleased to be a part of that. Again, Jackie, a pretty incredible person. What I knew with her and all the issues she had just in terms of personal health and everything, I always found her to be this sort of relentless creative spirit. She never stopped making art through her life, no matter what else was going on. And she adjusted her art to fit the circumstances of living in a smaller place, having to work on smaller pieces or whatever, but she always did something. Anyway, the show that's at the community center, which you're going to get a glimpse of, is a small body of work, really. It doesn't encompass all that Jackie did in her lifetime by a long shot. I mean, we would have to have several more rooms to produce a really kind of true retrospective show. I'm going to readmit Bobbi. She just left us for a moment. Anyway, so this is the first art show we've had here since the shutdown, like a year and a half ago. We're really pleased to have it. I will tell you that we've extended the show. It will be up through the course of this week coming, and it'll be there. Again, it's like noon to 5. If you have a chance to get over to see it in person, I highly recommend doing so. If not, you do have this little video clip we're going to show in just a moment, and this will give you a taste, at least, of what Jackie Kirk was all about. I think that's about all I need to really say at this point. I have to thank Bobbi Wilson very much for participating in this and helping us put this together, both in terms of the art show and her friends and family that worked on putting the art show together, which included, I know Judith Selby Lang worked on it, and I know that some of her own family members worked on it, and working on this video clip. We got this together thanks to a collective effort of not experienced videographers, but we pulled it together, and it came up, I think, pretty good. And if Danielle is ready, I think we're going to be rolling that in just a moment. And if you can mute your microphones, that would be really wonderful. It helps with the video effects. Thank you.
Welcome to Jackie Kirk's Memorial Artist Show. On August 21st, 2021, we held the Memorial Art Show for Jackie. And this room, the community center, these two rooms did such a fabulous job of housing this magnificent portraiture and recent work of Jackie's. There were more than 80 people here, and they were stunned when they walked in. Some cried the moment they walked in. And this is the entry. We've got a beautiful painting of Jackie's self-portrait. This is her COVID painting that she did when COVID first broke out. We have a really nice picture of her art group in the San Geronimo Creek, which is a very famous painting for photo for all of those folks that were so close throughout the years. And here's a painting below that, a picture below that of Mom painting Joey. He was a little boy that got AIDS through a blood transfusion. And below there, we have some pictures from Jackie's apartment. Everybody loved Mom's apartment and how she had so much stuff on the walls. There's even a video done by her dear friend and colleague, Barbara Swift-Brower and Judith Selby, called On the Wall. That's on her website. And this is the last painting that Jackie did on Mother's Day. She was doing an art lesson with my daughter, Winona, the last painting that she did. And I am Bobbi Wilson. I'm Jackie's daughter, and Larry gave me the opportunity to hang this show as a memorial. She was very involved in this West County. All her friends have had shows here, very close to Larry and Molly. And I thought, what would Mom want us to show at a memorial exhibit? And the first thing I heard her say to me was my recent work. So I'm going to show you a wall of her recent work. This was a series where she took paper and got it wet and crumpled it up and then laid it out to dry. And each one of these is a 8.5 by 11 crumpled rag paper that she spent hours and hours, as you can see, filling in the cracks, if you will. And when you step back to look at it, it's so Jackie because it really looks like roots and tree branches. She so much painted nature just without thinking. It just came out of her. Another big piece of work that she did the last couple of years was her Holes series, and I have a number of them here. The light might be difficult here, but we have a triptych of her Holes series here and an entire book. She had so many of these that it came from her heart, and she called them Holes, H-O-L-E-S, and then she also drew whole people or whole watchers. So she had this whole thing going on with painting these portals almost, and then people watching the portals, which quite honestly is a little bit apropos to someone who's 91 and really dealing with looking at someday passing on. So I think it's quite relevant that she did so much of this. At the memorial show, we were fortunate to have Robert Flynn Johnson. He's a world-renowned curator and frankly the brainchild working with Mom on the Face of AIDS museum, one-woman museum show in 1991 with at the Palace of Legion of Honor. Mom and Barbara Swift-Brower proceeded to make a book of the show, and this content will be on her website soon. Mom painted 25 AIDS patients, and for each AIDS patient she drew herself, and a self-portrait that depicted how she felt after staring into their eyes for 3 hours. And this book describes their experience as well as her experience painting them. And here you can see some pictures of the Face of AIDS show. It was a one-woman show at the Palace Legion of Honor, and it was a feat for Robert to get them to accept to do the show. Jackie was unknown. She was a woman and did not have a lot of, not unknown in the art world, but unknown in galleries. And they said no a number of times, and Robert, as it says here, considers that it's the responsibility of the museum to display works of art that are not only of aesthetic interest, but to confront, utilizing appropriate art, the major issues facing our society. And this is why Robert was so excited about this work. There's a wonderful article about the work and Jackie from the Chronicle, and there's a link for that on her website as well. And then the statement of the artist. She says she's always stared into the faces of other people. I'm always trying to see inside to find the inner person. As an artist, I've painted the portrait for over 43 years, and this was in 90, and she kept going, so add another 20 years to that. She says, I'm searching, I'm sure, for all the parts of me, and while I'm searching, I am painting someone else. I use my paints and my brush to see into the hearts of others. And that really sums up Jackie's work and her work with people. She loved people. She brought the art spirit out of people by teaching them how to be free, and as a result, so many people came forth after she passed to tell us, the family, how much she changed their lives. People going back to the 60s that she interacted with. So it was a very profound art show, because people from every decade were here to pay their respects to someone who really had a strong influence. And here you can see the show and Jackie in front of the Palace Legion of Honor. The Jackie I did after painting Steve came from just pure rage at the senselessness and unfairness of this epidemic. I felt wild and angry when I did it, and I let the wildness stay. I was angry that these people who were so sensitive and sweet had to deal with a life-threatening disease, and that they had to die from it. This is the emotion that comes through in this painting. Another key element of the show were her large portraits. They're the same size as the Face of AIDS portraits, and they're done on the same rag paper with the same style. She did a lot of portraiture before, during, and after the show as practice, and also as creating a body of work. And you can see when they're not framed, one of her art friends pointed out that what's fabulous about these is you can really get close to the brush strokes. And what her friend, the artist, said was, it's as if it was just painted today. So this has been a very intense product of how we hung the show, which was allowing people to get so close to the brush strokes of her work. The second room of the show was just as spectacular as the first. We have the documentation of the museum, some of her shadow boxes, and it's hard to see in the video, but this wall has selfies, basically, Polaroid selfies. Jackie did a lot of work documenting how to do these self-portraits that she did in the AIDS series. She did over 100 of these Polaroids, and you can see that we have a few up on this wall of a mirror. And what was fabulous about this is the show is that when you're looking at her selfies, because it's a mirror, you can't help but see yourself. And then the far wall has more of the AIDS portraits. And more of the other portraits that she did on the rag paper. Another thing we did at the show was we had 4 tables set out with a lot of her art from the rest of her portfolio. As you know, if you know Jackie's work, she has many, many genres, from portraiture to nature to anything you can name it, graphite, color. So we wanted to show some of the depth of her other genres. So we had tables set out, and I have a small, one of the many portfolios that we had out on the tables here, showing the breadth of some of the work that Jackie has accomplished in her life. And as you can see, it's just infinite how many pieces of work Jackie was able to produce. And this is one of 10 different books that we had laid out, showing a wide variety of her work.
You're on.
So we hope that this video tour gave you a sense of the show that we had from Jackie, her memorial exhibit. Thank you so much to Larry and the Community Center. This was a fabulous event, and I hope that this video really helped you guys that couldn't make it get a sense of the power that this show turned out to have. And be sure to check JackieKirk.com. Again, the article in the San Francisco Chronicle was really, really well done. And the show is still open Tuesday through Thursday, 12 to 5 o'clock. So if anybody can still make it, the show is still up. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed it.
All righty. That was our brief glimpse of the show. And again, thank you, Bobbi, and thank you, Danielle, for that tech work. I think that came out pretty smoothly. And you heard Bobbi say that will be up for the duration of this week coming. So for those of you who may not have seen it, you can really kind of linger around the show this week, and that will be Tuesday through Thursday, and that's noon to 5.
I think everybody's can't share their videos, maybe, Larry. It says the host has turned that part off or something.
Yeah, I can try to get some of these back on. Or anyone who actually, you can all turn your own videos back on.
It doesn't let me. It's saying that the host
yeah, I thought
has stopped it. It's okay. I mean, we don't need to.
We'll just do this.
May I say something, Larry?
Absolutely.
I wasn't able to go to the memorial, but I did stop by a couple of weeks ago and walk through the show and then walk through it again. And I would just like to second what you said about going to see it, because I just wasn't prepared for how moving it was. but I also was so impressed with her handling of paint. And I've known her since she lived over on Central here in Woodacre. But just the masterful way, her color palette and the way she handled paint, in addition to everything else. I was just so glad to see the show. So I'm just encouraging everybody to go see it in person.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and that's obviously, this is a very poor substitute for, as with anything, as with any art show, there's no substitute for actually going up and seeing those brush strokes and seeing a handmade artifact. And we do allow for that with this little extended period of time. And frankly, I have to look at the show. I realize that as much as I rush around through the buildings and stuff, I want to spend a little more time just kind of dwelling on different pieces and really kind of absorbing it. So that is something that is available.
When I brought my friend there Friday, she said that there was something really strong about looking into her eyes, that she was looking in the eyes of the paintings and the paintings were looking, and we tried to kind of hang them at eye level. So that was great for me to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh, you just fixed my video. Thank you.
Oh, I see you. I just saw that. I thought maybe you were having trouble. Yeah, I mean, and I should point out, I mean, there's some a little bit more of that history that, of course, that you showed, but it's really great to have a chance to kind of take a look at that closely. We don't actually have a copy of the book there. It's a really pretty great book if you can find it. And I think you, Bobbi, said you might be able to put it on the website at some future date. So I should let you folks know there's JackieKirk.com is a website where you can see a lot of Jackie's work. A lot more work than you're seeing here. And by the way, in case you're wondering, that's the book I'm talking about, which is a book that Jackie did with Barbara Swift Brower, which I think is, a great artifact as well to have in relation to all this.
In the article for, so I am going to get the pages of the book up on the website, and the article from the Chronicle is up there as well on the website. And I'm going to put this video up there as well. Not the Zoom video, but the video that we just played.
Oh, very good. Yeah. And along the same lines, as we take all of these virtual salons, as we call them, and put them on our website under the video event library heading. So we have a little collection of them there. So, which I'm very pleased to have as some kind of document, of what goes on here, and to have Jackie in there with all that. All right. Well, thank you, folks. Thank you, Laura, for being here. I know that you might have missed out on this show at this point if you didn't have a chance to look at it this way.
So Laura, what is your last name?
She's muted.
Oh, does anybody know?
Krajan Cronin.
I don't know if I know you, and all I see is Laura, and you might know us.
Laura Krajan Cronin. I've been a painter a long time. Jackie and I were both at Sonoma State in the art department in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
Early 70s. That's where I first met her.
With Walter Coleman and
Yeah.
Don Hazlett.
Don Hazlett. Oh yeah, good old Don Hazlett. Haven't heard that name in a long time.
I just pinged him, and I haven't heard back, but of course he's in New York.
Wow.
But that's fabulous. I still want to go to Sonoma State for that reason. Even at 66.
Well,
Never too late, right?
well, check out the JC in Santa Rosa.
Yeah. Is it good?
Did a lot of things there.
Okay, that's closer.
Why are you recommending that one, Laura?
I really got going when I started taking classes there.
It isn't
After my first marriage broke up, and that was an ancient time ago. But
who was teaching there?
and I am blanking out on names terribly these days. that there was one teacher that was totally wonderful. And if I heard his name, I would absolutely recognize it, but I can't think of him.
At the JC.
JC. And I think he was getting very, very old, went to a show of his in the 90s, and I have kind of lost track since, so I don't know if he's still alive or not.
We're all gonna
That's
be-
a good tip, because I really want to take more classes, and Sonoma State's, I'm not getting a degree, so it makes more sense to go to JC.
Uh-huh. And do you live in Sonoma County?
Yeah, I live, Sebastopol.
Yep, perfect. And it must have rained at your house yesterday.
Yes, we were going to art trails all day yesterday, and it was glorious to be in the rain.
So
My friend in Occidental said it rained at his house all day, and I'm very jealous because it did not rain where I live in
All
Nevada.
night. It rained all night. It was great. Well, it's exciting to meet people that go so far back. I remember her being at that college and
oh yeah, of course.
going there with her, and it's just it's like time travel for me to meet people that know Mom from way back.
Amazing. Can I ask what?
Longley was also there at that time, and she died in September of 2020.
Who did?
Ziva Longley,
Oh yeah.
another good friend from way back then.
Wow.
Did Jackie know her as well, Laura?
This I do not know, because when I was going to school there, I mean, there were a whole bunch of us that we kind of got to know some of us kind of got to know each other over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot else going on at the time that was crazy. And art sort of brought it all together and kept me from flipping out. I don't know about how many other people.
That's good. Well, that says a lot. If you know, I had a question. What time frame did Jackie live in the valley? Somebody was asking me that in an
Even now she lived in the valley. I never realized she lived in the valley.
Yeah, so she's been in Fairfax almost 30 years, so 26 years. So, and she was in Santa Fe a couple years before that, Mill Valley a couple years before that. So I remember I was in my 20s, she was on Central. So, that'd be.
I have been out here for 43 years, and she was living on Central when I moved in. In fact, I just went to the website and I see a picture of myself with portraits. I remember it happening, actually.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Most interesting.
She lived out there with Phil, and she did a lot of painting out there with Susan, her neighbor, and she loved it out there.
Well, I'm assuming that must have something to do with where she came in contact with what I consider a lot of the Valley artists, like I mentioned, Siegel and Art Holman and Kay Carlson and Ayumi and some other names I can't. You showed a photograph.
She probably met Walter through Sonoma State, because I think that was her teacher. And then that probably took her to Kay Carlson at Sausalito. But yeah, who knows? I wish I had been paying more attention. I was busy being a brat teenager.
You know who Walter is, right?
I know the name.
Coleman. Walter Coleman.
Walter Coleman and my mother shared the same lunch table at the Redwoods for years.
Oh,
5 years. I used to bring him ice cream. He always wanted me to bring him ice cream.
didn't you guys do the memorial for him?
Walter Coleman?
I don't think so.
We did one for Art Holman, but I don't think we did one for Walter Coleman.
I don't think so. Did he live in the valley?
Oh, I remember now. They did it at the center. Yeah.
He had a studio in the ICB on the 3rd floor, around the corner from mine.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a
We
wonderful.
have one of his pieces we don't quite know what to do with. There's a collector up here in Santa Rosa. So we're gonna, I don't know, talk to him. But we have a Walter Coleman piece. If you're interested.
He's a wonderful painter. You don't want to keep it.
I don't think my brother nor I can live with it. It's pretty haunting.
You already have a heavy responsibility because you have a body of work that you are now housing. And that's something that I certainly appreciate, both because we experience that, and a lot of people I know experience that, where they have artists in their families, and next thing you know, they've got a lot of art to take care of and to disperse, etc. And in the case of the AIDS work, which was kind of her most famous work, a lot of those are gone. Is that right?
No, we have 19,
Oh, okay.
and we have a total of 7 pairs. If we match 2 singles that one of her collectors has, and Robert Flynn Johnson's actually going to help us donate some of the pairs to museums.
Oh, nice.
So that's all a little bit nerve wracking, but I guess we're going to do that next. And then I'm going to hang some of her work at the Grayton Gallery on the 8th of October. So I'm going to move some of the stuff straight from your gallery up here to the Grayton Gallery, and I might run that a couple months.
Oh, good. That's really great.
It would be like one AIDS. It wouldn't be like, they're kind of shy about the intensity, honestly, is what they said.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, because I mean, the more potent the artwork, the harder it is to put in a gallery. It's kind of, interesting. Well,
Yeah.
but I think it's really wonderful that you have somebody on your team, that help you access, in terms of getting it maybe into some kind of museum or archive or something like that, because that's always a tricky one to navigate, and
Right.
I'm hearing that very same conversation about a lot of other artists like Connie Smith Siegel and all these other people is how to appropriately house that artwork someplace so people can still see it and it can be taken care of.
Yeah, so there's a handful of museums that she's in that we're going to approach, and then LGBTQ Historical Society, and then he wants to go into the Fogg Museum, Fogg Art Museum, and the National Portrait Gallery. So I guess he's in the swing of things. He knows where
Nice.
to go.
Yeah.
What about the Achenbach? I mean, since that was kind of
They have 2 already, and then she's in the Duke University and Museum of Women.
so those are all permanent collection pieces.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So that's already taken care of a lot of the.
Yeah. The important thing is that, when time goes by, that they're not just in one place or lost or frankly just on a wall. It's important that, that they are permanent and available for many, many generations to come, hopefully.
Yeah, one would hope.
And her husband, Phil, is he still alive? I knew him as well. I don't have any idea.
We lost Phil 6 years ago, I think.
Oh,
or-
okay.
I thought it was, boy, it's funny. It seems like so long ago.
It
Just-
might have
it's
been
kind of recent. Yeah.
2012, maybe. I'm terrible with numbers and losing people. It doesn't make my brain work any better. But yeah, we lost Phil first, and she complained about missing him so much. So that's one beautiful thing about her moving on, and she doesn't have to miss Phil anymore. So
They had sort of adjoining studio.
you
apartment
remember that?
at the Bennett house, that he had his. I was over there often, and yeah, I think I told you, like going into his place with all that oil paint in that little room,
Yeah.
I would walk out with a headache every time. I don't know how he endured that, but
And he would set the turpentine next to the gas.
Oh, gee.
The wall heater's going, and it's like, oh,
Oh my God.
what are you doing? That right there, right next to the heater.
and Laura, we had a really
Where their apartments were, right?
They
that's
each had their own apartment, and then in Santa Fe, they each had their own room
Uh-huh.
in an apartment. But I have some of his work as well. Yeah.
and Laura, we had a really great show of Phil's work. His what I consider his latter day work. He sort of shifted from the abstractions that I'd known him to do for so long to a series having to do with the labor union history that had to do with the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, where all these women had died in this
Oh,
turn of the century event back in the 1890s, early 1900s. But he
okay.
did a whole series about this, and we showed that at the community center, which was kind of, to me, one of the highlights when I think of some of the shows we've done there.
It was a
over the time.
wonderful, wonderful show.
Was that several years ago? I mean, I moved from the Valley in 2004.
Mhm.
And a lot of stuff happened since then. My husband died, et cetera. So I was missing a lot of things that were going on.
Yeah, it seems like you've were always there for all these different shows. So I thought you might
I
have
came
seen
a
that.
lot, but I didn't catch everything.
Yeah.
And Larry, I do have a link. I think it's Shutterfly that I had some of Phil's art up. If you want to link to, I think some of those pieces are still there. His son took most of those, but I still have images of them if you want to have those.
Oh,
accessible.
neat,
I'll
yeah.
take I used to have a big scrapbook in the lobby of the community center of the different shows. So we had all this stuff about that show in there, but that scrapbook disappeared one day. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Cannot imagine that. But yeah, so I do remember the show quite well. And
What was Phil's last name?
Rosenfeld,
Okay.
and it's Philip with one L. Yeah, I can give Larry the link to those images so that he can show those. Yeah, I think I have some photos of the event as well. Winona and I were playing caterer. I remember we were having a ball. So I'll look for that, Larry.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone has some other insights or comments, we could probably start wrapping up. We've done our deed. We showed the video, and I really appreciate the things I've heard. I've already heard a couple of things I didn't know about Jackie in the last few minutes here. And just a reminder, and you can tell anyone that we're going to have this on our website, not immediately. Takes a little while to get that set up, but anyone who misses the show entirely, if you happen to talk to them, you can say, well, check out the website and you'll find a video clip of it. So we have some remnant of that for everyone. And I'm just passing it on to everyone who's here.
Thank you. You guys have been so great. This has been a real healing experience for me. I really appreciate it, Larry, giving it all what she deserved. It's just really been fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
For honor.
Yeah, we really appreciated your mom, Bobbi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think that might be it. And again, unless Laura, you have something, Anne, somebody want to any final comments or
Just thank you all for putting it all together, because it was really meaningful and it's beautiful. So I appreciate it.
thank
So
you.
glad I got to see it.
You look so familiar. I must know you, Laura.
Pardon?
The woman that just spoke, her name is Anne. You
Oh,
look
yes.
familiar. I know you.
Oh, yeah.
Facing you.
Perhaps.
Nice to see you again, Anne.
You too, Laura.
All part of the circle of artists from the Valley. There's a lot of reasons to run into all these people.
Yeah.
I went to a couple of those salons that Jackie and Connie and Kay Carlson started, but they were about the time that I was having babies. So so I got pulled off of that focus for quite a few years.
Well, they coherently did a number of shows at the community center. We had shows, I think they often called themselves the 8 or something, or
Yeah.
there was, and so we did some group shows that involved Jackie along with, I think it was Patrick Maloney, I think his name is. And then again, all the people I've already mentioned, Ayumi and Art Holman. And then they did similar shows of that work that would be at the Civic Center and other venues.
Yeah.
Maybe the Marin Community Foundation, I'm not sure, but definitely the Civic Center did a couple of their shows. So
Yeah, not too long ago.
another outgrowth of all of that. All righty.
Well, thank you so much.
And again, thank you, Danielle, for your work over there. I think the video clip came out nicely. We didn't have any big glitches, which is something we're always alert to. Anyway, so we'll proceed on, and who knows what we'll do next, but we'll probably have another virtual artist salon, and we'll see how that goes.
This is
Thank
fun.
you.
I'm
Thank
so
you
glad
all.
I don't have to drive to the valley in the dark.
I know. Well, that is partly why we're still doing this, is we still hear reports from people saying that they still want us to do this, because it is still difficult for some people to get around and to get out, and people are still missing out. So we're trying to make sure people don't miss out too much.
Yeah.
Oh, Elaine Nam is going to have surgery, serious surgery, probably this coming week.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if she's hearing from you. She says she doesn't seem to be on the list.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, because yes, I know that she sometimes gets off our list somehow. I don't know how she loses us, but we want to try to keep all these people because I know that there are people who want to see these shows. And I hate to hear about anyone who's missed out.
Laura, who was it?
Elaine Nim, just an artist who usually shows up for these virtual salons and everything.
This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we will see you maybe next month, or we'll see you sooner for some of the other things, or we'll see you this week if you come by the community center.